morning everyone. I am Angelica Salarzon from BE Ed 1 and I am going to report the flashpoints and the perspective of the divides, which is the North and the South. Global South is an underdeveloped countries where it become more visible. It become more visible because it is noticeable from public. Global South is also referred to under the collective label. Many scholars and writers of globalization consider it ambiguous because it uses simple geographical criteria to describe a complex social situations, which distinguish poor countries from the wealthiest. In the Brand line, it was developed as a way of showing how the world was geographically split into relatively richer and poorer. Richer countries are almost located in the Australia and New Zealand that have been regarded as southern outliers of the North. Some of the richest countries in the world with a high GDP per capita that is classified as a part of the Global South. The model is still rests exclusively on a latitudinal division where the distance of the North and the South has the freedom to do what will they act in their environment. Poorer countries are mostly located in the southern hemisphere and the tropical region. A few decades ago, the South was associated with starvation, malnutrition, poverty, epidemics, low educational levels, political authoritarianism, and dictatorship. South experienced starvation with a 39.3 million people live undernourished in the region. South also experience malnutrition because it has the cost of food security where nourishing food does not meet from the poor ones. Poverty experienced from the South because of the unequal treatment of the government and other associations. Today, although hunger and poverty continue to exist in many South countries, the numbers of wealthy and extremely wealthy people are rising rapidly because of the different technologies that has been upgraded at this time. They use it not for their poor families, but they use it for their different activities wherein wealthy people will be benefited. However, the fact remains that inequality and inequity remain inherent and almost foundational characteristics of the North and South. Inequality is not a surface phenomenon that can be rectified by diverting cash here and there, but a deep structural defect that diminishes individual and collective potentials. Inequality becomes not rectified and not a phenomenon to the poor people wherein they are afraid to do something against wealthy man because they are thinking that they are more powerful and they will serve as a trash from the government. According to Guttal 2016, despite improvements in social economic indicators and increases in wealth accumulation and capital investment flows among many countries of the South, there continue to be significant differences between North and South divides in living conditions, consumption levels and patterns, social and economic structures, access to services and resources, and political power in supranational global governance. Systems and institutions of global economic and financial governance continue to be dominated by the North despite attempts by developing countries to secure greater power. North is developed countries through the different technologies that has been upgraded with the help of well-educated individuals, while on the South, it is developing countries because different equipment does not meet on a certain time. And South is also lack of well-educated individuals because of the different crises that is happening. Global South is normally used to mean countries that are faced with social, political, and economic challenges, for instance, poverty, environmental degradation, human and civil rights abuses, mass displacement of refugees, and hunger and disease. Global South is experiencing challenges like a person who has been forced to leave the country because of war, religious, or political reasons. These activities not only experience at this time, but happens it before, wherein the path before was the path of the South that has been following now, and it is not good for the citizens and nations. In addition, Magallanes also mentioned that the term Global South is historical and decontextualized. It omits a critical core of dynamic variables that characterize different kinds of countries, especially historical, economic, social, cultural, and political variables. It should be added that Global South rids itself of the negative political and economic labeling that Third World had before, as it generally see to be more apolitical. Global South should save itself from the different negative political and economic labeling that happened in the Third World, where people are not interested or involved in politics. Thus, it is considered to be more neutral and sits well when the platform globalization seeks to induce. It can also be surmised that with the rapidly changing patterns of development coupled with the massive technological revolution, the uneven development of the Global South since the term was coined has rendered the geographically of the term even more complicated, to the point where it may have become an obstacle to understanding the contemporary global situation. Some of the societies covered by the term: People's Republic of China, India, Brazil, and Turkey have benefited from globalization to become more assertive in global relations, with the PRC aspiring to the world leadership and hegemony from Deer League in 2007. The ongoing global transformation is a phenomenon known as South cooperation. Once consigned to the margins, South-South cooperation is coming to occupy an important place in the changing theory and discourse of development. This forges is a clearer path towards integration within states that deem to occupy the same position, to emerge out of the label South, and aspire to become a part of the North. In effect, even states that are once labeled as part of the Global South may after some time become included as a state in the Global North, depending on their future socio-economic status. According to Jane Krugel, elite behavior within and between nation-states, integration and cooperation within geographic areas, the resulting position of the states and regions within the global world, market and related political economic hierarchy. These essential aspects of the developmental tendencies in the Global South are indeed essential if there is expected changes in the categorization of nation-states in the future. The important thing that one has to consider is that the divide, as with any global phenomenon, is never static, especially when the factors of technology, migration, increasing levels of literacy, employment, increase in GDP, and currency valuation increase come into play. Camaraderie is needed to the southern people to have a developed countries. Through the help of well-educated individual, crises will be eradicated. The BRICS is a good example of assertion or a positive affirming. BRICS has the acronym for the Association of 5 Major Emerging National Economies. The first one is the Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. The first 4 were grouped as a BRIC or the BRICS before the induction of the South Africa in 2010. The members of the BRICS known for their significant influence on regional affairs, and all are members of G20. A contraction in the global North-South divide is actually seen by many economists as a result of international free trade and an unhindered capital flows across countries, which could definitely catapult development further in the South. As Robertson defined, globalization that is not simply a process that can be narrated within a single construct, but it is a compression of the world. Closing or mitigating the divide has been a goal for many developmental initiatives. The United Nations has developed a program dedicated to narrowing the divide through its Millennium Development Goals aimed at sustainable development. This includes improving educational and health care, promoting gender equality, and ensuring environmental sustainability. In addition, the IMF, World Bank, and other progressive northern countries have embarked on developmental initiatives such as providing loans and grants to the Global South countries in order that these nation-states may also attain development in the long run. As I said a while back, camaraderie is very useful for the globalization. It helps one another to be a developed country. So that's all, everyone. Again, I am Angelica Salarzon from BE Ed 1, and that's my report for the flashpoints and the perspective of the divide.